Hi, we are making our Christmas tags tonight, and I wanted to show you how to do it. So I'm going to take each tag, I'm going to show you what I am providing you, what the inspiration stamp set is, and a technique or two for each one. So the first tag I'm going to show you is this cute tag, this adorable tag. It's kind of a two-piece tag, and the to and from is on the front. And it starts out like this. So the first thing you'll see is that you've got to cut out some of the images that I provided for you. You need to ink up the edges of the circle. So we're going to do that first. First, you're going to cut out your images. I gave you a cat and the parrot. See, the parrot's hanging off of the tag. And I also gave you a dog. So if you want to use the dog instead, go ahead and cut that out. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the cat real fast. And remember, you just to cut out, you're just going to cut around your image. You don't have to be really careful. You just want to make sure that you don't cut into the image itself. So if you have some generous margins, that's absolutely okay. You can go back and clean them up later, or just don't worry about it, because the eye will travel around the image as long as you don't cut into the image. So we've got that guy, and then real quickly we've got the parrot, and I apologize that this is backwards for you. I'll try to do it this way, but my camera skills aren't terrific, so I have to do everything backwards on the camera. So when I'm cutting, that's a bit of a challenge. Okay, so I've got those two guys right there. The next thing I want to do is I want to ink up my circle. So I'm using the Real Red Stampin' Up! Ink, and I'm just going to go around the edges real quickly. Feels like I have two here. Oh, I do. Okay, just around the edges real quickly. And then what I did do is I started in the middle, and then I did a little smoosh all around it, just to create a little color. The center, it won't show anyway, so it doesn't matter if it's totally even or not. The next thing I'm going to do is bump that image up with dimensionals. And I'm using the bigger dimensionals, but absolutely if you have the smaller ones, that works. So I'm going to put 3, 1, 2, and one more in the middle. Take the backings off, and then I'm going to center that in the middle of my circle. So there's a little bit off the top and the bottom. That's absolutely fine. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of hold my piece like this. I'm going to kind of hold this off the side right here, and I'm going to hold this piece, matching up the holes, and I want to kind of see where the top of the cat is and create a little bit of a hanging down. So I'm going to just trim off right, that's about an inch, I would say. About an inch, yeah, maybe an inch and a quarter. And then I am going to use my liquid glue. I'm going to just glue the top part of the bird on the bottom part of that tag. And I'm going to, again, kind of see where he is in relationship to the cat so that he kind of hangs there. But you get a little sticky part of your glue. Just let it dry, and then you can put a little cornstarch on it, and it won't be sticky at all when you're done. Okay. The next thing is you're going to use some twine or some ribbon or whatever you want. So I'm using this twine tonight because that's what I have on hand. And you can use anything. You can use ribbon, you can use twine, and I'm going to put it through, thread it, fold it in half, then thread it through the two holes together. I'm going to pull up on that. So I've got my bird here, and then I'm going to just glue this flat, the cat flat, and you'll notice that some of the circle hangs over the back of the tag, so only glue on the left-hand side of your circle. And then you're going to position this guy just like that. Hold it for a minute so it dries. I think I've got more of a middle ground here. And then the only other thing that you need to do is you need to stamp the to and from. And I am getting the to and from the Well Designed stamp set. You can use any to and from. I think there's a to and from some of your paper pumpkins from the past. And I am going to stamp both of them at the same time. So what I'm going to do is position my to where I want it, and then I'm going to position my from where I want it. So that's about right for me, and I will then lay it down on my block, and I twisted it. I twisted my to. Okay, and then I'm using the real red again, the same red that I used behind the cat. And I am positioning it to the left, straight up, straight down, to and from. Tag 1 is done. Like I said, you have the dog to use, so if you want to use the dog on another project, feel free, or if you want to add both animals to the same one, you could. But anyway, there is tag number 1. Okay, the second tag is actually using the Penguin Place and the DSP that comes with it. So for this card, for this design, I am using the inspiration of the stamp set called Penguin Place. I'm using some of the sentiments in here. I'm using this little gift piece, and you can use whatever you want to embellish. But remember, I can't stamp for you when I send you pieces. That's just against the rules for Stampin' Up. So I provided you the pieces of paper to cut out, so you'll want to do that. And you will need to provide a piece of white cardstock and stamp your sentiment on it, whatever you want it to be. So everybody's is going to look similar, but not exactly the same. So let's put this little guy together. So for this guy, you are going to use the green base, and you're going to use the glittered little medallion piece, and that's going to be glued flat on here. So we're going to do that first. So we're going to just pick, it's about halfway in the middle, and you're going to put glue only on the right side of your glitter piece, and you're going to glue it off to the side so it hangs off of your tag. Okay. And I used the tailored tag punch, by the way, and I made it a little bit wider. I made it actually 3 inches wider. I just positioned it on both sides, and then I just angled the edges. So, because normally the tag would only be about 2 inches long, wide, and I wanted a fatter one. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is add some, add your little guys, and I gave you the pieces to, again, cut out on your own, so you might want to do that ahead of time. I'm going to glue my fox flat to right up against my medallion. And then the next thing I'm going to do is bump up the polar bear on dimensionals, and I'm just going to focus on putting dimensionals down the middle and on the left leg, because well, I guess the right leg will work too. I thought maybe it hung over, but I guess it doesn't. Okay, so I put 4 dimensionals on there, and I just kind of eyeballed him where I wanted him to be, so he's going to be like the focal point right there. And now for the penguin, his head is glued flat onto the leg of the polar bear, and his bottom has a dimensional on it. So I'm going to put a dimensional down by his feet, and then I'm going to put a little dab of glue on the back of his head, and I'm going to glue that in place. Okay, so he's like that. Now you'll see that I added some presents, and what I did with that is I stamped them with the penguin place. So I'm going to stamp them right now. If you've got little holly berries or holly that you want to stamp on here, if you've got some more trees, if you want to add some stars, if you want to draw in some stars or holly berries, you can do whatever you want. But I just did 3 little gifts on there. I thought that was cool. And then they have a sentiment that says, "To the coolest friend ever," and it's in a single row. So what I did to stretch this one out is I kind of cut it apart. So I'm going to, and I'm not going to use the ever. I just have "To the coolest friend." So I'm going to cut close to the words, and then I am going to bump them up on dimensionals. So "To the coolest and friend." And I don't need the ever, so I'm going to throw that away. So, oh, I think I need a small dimensional for the 2. I need a skinny one, and I just have the black ones, so I'll use a black one right now. It won't show. So I'm going to use a little dimensional on the 2, and I'm going to just put it over here to the side, 2, and then the might need a small dimensional as well. And if you don't have the small dimensionals, you can cut a bigger dimensional in half to the, and then Coolest definitely can have a larger dimensional on it to the Coolest. And then I have Friend, and I can see I cut these a little bit bigger than the first one, so I'm going to just trim this right here to the, and trim that. And on the glitter paper, you can pretty much lift your little guys up to the Coolest. Okay, that's much better. To the Coolest, and trim this one a bit. Friend. Okay, and one more dimensional. Okay, so that works out great. Now you need the to and from, and to do the to and from, I actually added the to and from on the back, and I used the to and from Delivering Cheer. So I will do that real quickly. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and be different and use the to and from that I already did earlier, because that's just easier. It's already there. And this time it is in the shaded spruce. So you have a card that you can add to the back of your tag. I'm going to put it flat and stamp to and from. And then to make it fun, I'm going to add 3 more of those presents onto the side, kind of wonky on the edge there. And then that's just going to be glued flat onto the back of your tag. So it's just centered on the back of your tag. And there you have your second tag. You just want to tie your ribbon or your twine, or this is that gold stuff. And the way I did this one is I went ahead, and I'll use twine this time so you can just see. I put it through the tag, threaded it, folded it in half, threaded it through, pulled it through, and that looks fine. But what I did to make it a little more interesting is I took a smaller piece and I created a bow. So I just took a smaller piece of twine and put it around the twine that is already threaded. And I'm attempting to tie a bow upside down. So I just grabbed the two pieces of twine in my knot and then tied the bow over the top. And trimmed the edges. So just another interesting way to create the top of your tag. So that's tag 2. Tag 3 is very similar to tag 2 in that we're using the same stamp set and the same technique at the top, same technique at the bottom, but just different characters, and we're using the purple base. So it's going to be, I'm just going to walk you through it real quickly. It's done exactly the same way. You start by gluing the medallion down. You cut out your animals, and this time you're going to glue your bear flat, and then you're going to bump your fox up on dimensionals. Same thing with your penguin on dimensionals. And then this time I stamped To the Coolest Friend Ever in its single row, and I flagged the edges and bumped it up on dimensionals, stamped 3 presents, flipped it over, and did the same thing as before, to and from, and then the 3 presents on the bottom. Threaded my twine through the top and added an extra bow for interest. So that's how you do card number 3, or tag number 3. That one's really easy after you've done the second one. Okay, tag number 4 is I gave you a tag die. I used the DSP, and I think you all got the Jingle Bells, but I'm out of the Jingle Bells, so now I'm on to whatever these are, the chevrons. And you're going to just simply match up the 2 holes and put your twine through it, and just add a to and from on that white tag. It's really easy. And this to and from is used, I used the Delivering Cheer to and from, but again, you've got a to and from Old Paper Pumpkin. This one, I also added some additional embellishment. I added 2 pink snowflakes and a little red rhinestone. This time around, when I finish this one, I'm going to add a white snowflake and a silver bell. So you can add whatever you want to your tag to make it interesting. You may have some cutouts from other cards that you liked. You may have some old cutouts that we've played with before. You may have some stickers that you want to use, some 3-dimensional stickers. Anything like that works. So that's card number 4, and tag number 4, very easy. Then the last one is using the inspiration from the Christmas season. I'm using the stamp set and the dies. I cut the dies for you. Again, I can't do the stamping, so you can pick what you want to use. I also used the May You Enjoy the Peace of this beautiful season. I think that comes from, ooh, hold on just a second. Yes, that comes from Beautiful Cabin right here. So if you've got that stamp set, that's what I used for the center right here. But there's lots of great sentiments that you can use. Again, if you don't have a sentiment that you like, you can cut a sentiment from an old card. You can print something out on your own. You could even print something on your computer if you wanted to. But this one, I'm going to walk you through again as well. You received a DSP that is this shape, and it might not be this pattern. This one is different. What you're going to do with this is you're actually going to cut it in half, and it doesn't need to be perfect. You're just going to cut it in half. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your red piece that's cut the same way, and we're going to mount it onto the red piece. So just put a little bit of glue on the back of your red piece on the top and the bottom, and then position these two pieces that you have cut so that they've got a nice little border at the top and the bottom, and that extends the size of your tag. So as you can make more or less show at the top and the bottom depending on how big you want your tag to be. The next thing is you have a piece of coordinating DSP. You can choose which side you want, but I think I'm going to use this side. You just put glue on the back, and you're going to glue it right in the middle of your red piece. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to stamp your sentiment on your centerpiece, and you're going to bump it up on dimensionals. Then you'll see that I added some leaves and some holly berries. I stamped these, and I will put them underneath my sentiment when I'm ready to go. These are done with that Christmas season set. Again, I couldn't stamp those for you, so you might have some old greenery that you want to use, or greenery from another project. Perfectly okay. And so you're just going to glue those underneath your bumped up sentiment, and you're going to put your holly berries or maybe some rhinestones in the corner. The last thing you're going to do is flip it over, and you'll see your to and from go right there. So you've got this white piece. You'll stamp to and from. Again, I used that from the Delivering Cheer stamp set, and then you glue it flat on the back. So there are your 5 cards, tags. I look forward to seeing you on October 29th to put them together.